So find a spot where you can just land and be, whether that's a seat or you can lie back on your back. Just a moment to arrive. Namaste. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for tuning in. When you find your spot to be, use this opportunity to scan and notice and feel any sensations that speak to you in your body. Any place in your body that wants some attention or care. You can send your attention there. You can also send more breath there. Notice the quality of how you breathe when you notice something, while you're giving your attention. And also when you step back from giving it your full attention after you've acknowledged it. See if through that process your entire breath experience can smooth out, fill in, and fill you up. In the practice today, we're going to focus on your neck and your shoulders. So if you want to just highlight those two places in your mind or send more attention, light, and love to those places before we begin, feel free. And then you can bring your hands together at your heart or shape your hands on your body any other way. And rest a palm at your heart, rest a palm at your belly. Feel some more length travel through your spine and some deeper depth to your inhale. Let it move out. And then fill yourself up again for the sound of Om. 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 Begin to let your hands drop away. If you're sitting on something, come on down. You're on your way to lying on your back, but as you go down there, just make sure that your props are all in reach. So you know where they are, and you don't have to do any big shifts to get them. And then when you get down to your back, see about bending your knees. So if you can, that's great. If it's better to have your legs long, absolutely. Just finding another landing place where you can have your body settle and your attention can become a bit more heightened. And then when you get to that spot on your back, rest your hands on your belly. Do so by keeping your elbows heavy on the mat or heavy on the floor. Your hands really just rest on the skin and sink into the muscle. So that you have an awareness there, the rise and fall of your belly. Each cycle of breath. Feeling how easy the muscle is, right? So when you breathe in, even though there's an expansion, there's no rigidity. And when you breathe out, feel your body, your belly, especially just receiving gravity. Notice if there's any place that you squeeze and hold, right? Any muscle around your hip, around your pelvic floor. Allow that to soften. And you can visualize your diaphragm, so right at the underside of your rib cage. When you're breathing in, you can visualize that muscle contracting and pulling down. So that's what's causing your abdomen to rise. And then as you exhale, you can imagine it rolling and crimpling together again, and just allowing the organs and your muscle and your skin to drop closer to your spine. Breathing a few more times like this. Okay, one more breath. Notice the spaciousness in your low back. Good. And then whatever you're going to use, so whether it's a little throw pillow or a couple of books, just bring it underneath your skull so your head comes off the ground a couple of inches. You don't want it to be high necessarily. It could be that you use your block, right? And you can make that distinction and that decision in just a moment. But find a place where you can rest your head. There's still some freedom through your neck, so there's no tension in your neck muscles. And if you reach your fingers back and you can just touch the muscle and touch the skin on the back side of your neck, it should feel easy there. Right? It shouldn't feel like any work. And then you can let your head, while you're here propped on this little head lift, turn your head left, turn your head right. And if it feels like, well, I don't really want the prop, I don't really want something under my head, you could totally do this with your head on the floor. So nice to have a little lift just to encourage the sort of natural continuum of your spine. And as you move your head side to side, try to keep your mouth closed. Put some space between your upper and lower teeth and contact between your tongue and your hard palate. And with your eyes open, you can see a little bit of the ceiling and some side wall. You might find that there's a little bit more room to turn at the end range of things over time, but try not to get into forcing, right? You're just waking things up there. A little bit more with that. Turn to the right one more time. And turn to the left. And then center your head out. Take a breath all the way in and stay for your out breath. And keep your hands on your belly, it gives you some information. And then when you breathe in, lift your head enough that you can look through your thighs. And then bring your head back down. So if your legs are long, you're just kind of gazing toward your toes. You lift your head and you look toward your legs. And you lower your head down. And then you continue with this curling lift without it feeling like you've got to do a lot, right? So if you feel underneath your hands a big crunch of your abdomen, then it's too much, it's too big. Right? So just working along the front side of your neck, flexing there, rather than doing a big abdominal crunch. Right? You will feel some subtle abdominal action, but try to keep it subtle. If you have a neck that is particularly overworked or underworked, you might find it challenging around your shoulder muscles here to do this. So feel free to take breaks whenever you need. Notice if there's any kind of abdominal wind up. So you feel yourself doing the opposite motion and then really squeezing in your abdominal muscles to lift up, and then come back, release all of that, and then just focus on the movement of your head. So just little movement. Very minimal action on your chest muscles and on your abdominal muscles. Last 3. One more time. Good, and then let your head rest and just a little tiny tilt side to side, loosen up any tension that showed up. And then you can take away anything that you've got underneath your head for a moment and start to roll onto your right side. When you get to your right side, again, you might end up using a block, you might end up using that thinner piece, so just make sure they're in grabbing range. And then when you're on your side, make sure that your right arm can stretch out from your body. So it's going perpendicular to my spine. And then I'm going to release my head down toward the ground. So I'm just resting on my right side. And because there's nothing under my head right now, I get a little bit of a passive stretch through the left side of my neck. If that's more than you want, then you can always put something under your skull. Just so you have the drop without it feeling dramatic. And you can experiment with that along the way, whether there's something there or not. Your left hand can come all the way over by your right hand. And if you just lay your palms on top of each other or let your wrists kind of stack into a little X, giving yourself one more opportunity just to be still here. And then keep everything that you're doing in the shape of your body. Lift your head off the ground and then bring it back to the ground. And so lifting up, shortening through the left side of your neck, and then putting your head down and lengthening through the left side of your neck. Not looking at all toward the ceiling at this point. There's these lateral shifts. And you lift your head working against gravity. And when you're dropping your head, you're still kind of working against gravity because you don't want your head to fall quickly. So you really work against it moving up. And then you work against the immediate drop of your head falling, because that would not be nice. Turning on some of the muscle on the outer edges of your neck. Having something underneath your head sort of assures that you don't have to lift quite as far. Good. One more lift. Kind of brings the floor up to you. And then you can rest on the side of your head there, or you can bring in the prop as you rest on the side of your head. So again, you get some of that passive lengthening through the left side. And then you might see if your head is willing to rest down, see if it feels different than it did initially on the side of your neck. choosing what you need to make it yours, to make it work for you. And give yourself a couple more moments there. And then lift your head off either the ground or your prop. Turn your gaze to the ceiling. Keep your head floating. Turn your gaze to the floor or your prop. And then again, staying with the float, rotating. Watch out for your shoulder getting involved, so that when you're gazing up toward the ceiling, notice if your shoulder wants to pull up by your ear. See if you can soften that. Really working against gravity here by holding your head that inch or two off the ground, inch or so off the prop. The last one. And rest on the side of your skull. Give yourself one more breath. Good. And then you can use your left hand to sit up and move to the other side, or you could simply roll across your back. I'm going to swing my legs around so I can still see you. And then make your way onto your left side. And settling, knowing that the two sides are rarely the same. Your left arm can stretch out away from the mat. So you might need a different kind of height on the second side. Do as you need. Sometimes there's tendency to roll toward your back when you're here. See if you can really be on your side. Might be that your two hands start to stack up. Your two wrists could stack up. Giving yourself one more moment to settle. Remember, if you don't want something under your head, you don't have to have it. And then you can begin to lift your head off the support or off the floor, shortening through one side, putting it back down, lifting up, putting it back down. Notice if anything else gets involved. Your leg muscles, your obliques. Last few. And then start to float your head at that middle point. You can turn your gaze down first, and then up toward the ceiling, rotating. So, it depends on you and your neck and your range of motion. So when you're gazing down, it might feel like your nose can touch the ground or your prop. When you're gazing toward the ceiling, think about seeing with your left eye, right? You got to keep turning just enough to let your left eye see what you're looking at. And one more time. And then settle your head on the left side of your skull. Just a little bit of a passive stretch. So could be on the floor, could be that you have a prop. You might check out both. You can always take your right hand and just brush down the side of your neck. You can return your hand out to the other side. So you have this pancaking of your hands or crossing of your wrists. Giving it just a few more moments. Good, last breath in. Good, and then you can use your right hand to press yourself up briefly, finding your way up to sit. And you can move the prop or pillow out of your way for the time being. Find your ball. I'm going to get close for just a second so you can kind of see. You're going to be on your back in a second, but when you're on your back, if you take your left fingers, reach behind to your right shoulder, you kind of just feel around in there. So if you walk down the side of your neck, top of your shoulder, and find the rope of your trapezius up there, but then walk down a little bit if you can. And in that space, there's a little pocket kind of right behind your upper back. Right over here is the edge of my shoulder blade. And if I was to go right here, there's my spine. So I want to fit into the space between my shoulder blade and my spine. So I'm not going onto any bone. I'm really going into this muscle. I don't want to be too high because I don't want it to pop out, the ball. I don't want to be too low because I'm not going into that part, right? So that's kind of the general space. So when you go back down onto your back, you can start with your knees bent and then take the ball, and you can use your right fingers or your left fingers, it doesn't matter, but you're putting it under the right side. So kind of find that rope of muscle right next to your neck and roll to your left side a little bit, and then start to tuck the ball back into that pocket between your shoulder blade and your spine. And initially, once you've gotten it there, feel where it is. Notice if you need to move it around a little bit. If you let your knees drift left some, it'll be less intense because your body weight will fall off the ball a little bit. So initially you might just get there, find a spot, and try to sink in. Now, if it feels like the ball is not quite in the right space, you can use your bent knees with your feet on the floor to shift your body one way or the other. And then once you've got it there, have your right elbow on the floor next to your right ribs, and bring your right palm to your belly. And then right there, keep your elbow on the ground, pick your palm up from your belly so that your fingers go up toward the ceiling, and then hand to your belly. And you just open and close that. Small movement. So your right hand comes off your belly and comes up, Maggie, yep, and then it comes back down. Just moving through, and because your elbow is close-ish to your ribs, right? The closer you keep your elbow to your ribs, you might be able to open a little bit wider over time, right? And as you open wider out with the ball, with your arm, it changes the sensation on the ball. This little bird wing opening up. And you can certainly keep that movement or begin to move your right elbow just out to the right side some. So you can keep your fingertips up toward the ceiling, almost like you're going to move toward a goalpost arm. So you can move in that direction, stop where you need to stop, adjust as you need to adjust. And then it might be that you stay there and just have a static hold, or think about your elbow on the ground, just brushing back and forth, like you're using your upper arm from your elbow up to your shoulder to make a little bit of a mini snow angel sweep. And then it might be that you keep that, or you might find the full sort of goalpost placement of your elbow and pause there. And then your right hand, your right wrist can start to get heavier toward the ground. You can find the sweet spot for that. Move a little bit longer if you need to move around a little bit more, but then find a place where you can let go. Find a place where your arm can get heavy, where you can just let your body weight rest against the ball. Remembering that the ball is on muscle and not on bone. Notice if anything major has changed in the way that you're breathing. You can stay like that or have one more movement exploration. So keeping the ball as is, your right hand can come toward your chest, and then your right hand can go right past your face. So you go for an overhead reach. Maybe your right thumb touches down. And then you can pull your hand back toward your face and reach over to the left side with your right arm. So just moving, finding different spaces, hand toward your face, overhead reach. Notice if you want to do something in your low back as you go. Try to keep that all still. One more time, your hand can come down to your face and reach across. And then you can come back to the center line and have one more overhead stretch. Pausing. Your head can move a little bit. One more breath there. If you've got your arm alongside your ear, then overhead stretch, pull your hand back through your face. And then that same hand can reach for the ball, take it out, and just lie on your back with nothing underneath for a second and notice the difference between your two shoulders. Right? Notice what you feel between the two. And give yourself one more breath there. And then explore the other side. So take the ball over toward the top of your left shoulder, roll to the right a little bit so you can tuck it in, find that pocket of space. Move around until you know that you're not on the bone. Low enough with the ball that it doesn't pop out from underneath you easily. High enough that you know you're not getting into your middle back. And then when you found your spot, you can drop your left elbow close to your ribs. It doesn't have to be right up against, but it's close. And then your left hand to your belly. And stay just like that. Or open your left hand off your belly and bring it back in. So when your hand goes off your belly, that's some external rotation to your shoulder. And then your hand comes back in, a little bit of internal rotation. Exploring your range. listening to the messages that you're getting from your body. And you can have your fingers up vertical. Start to sweep your left elbow open a little bit. So you find a different contact surface. And then you can be still there and just let your body weight drop in. Or you can have this little snow angel movement with your upper arm. Good. And then maybe you find some full openness. So you feel your arm almost cactus, almost goalpost. And then perhaps you start to let your left hand get closer to the ground. Maybe that happens on this side, maybe it happened on the other side, right? Noticing what you notice. Giving yourself a few more breaths here in this position. You can stay there if you like, or let your hand pass through your heart, over your face, overhead stretch. Draw that back down. Reach across your body with your left hand. Back toward your center with your hand. Up alongside your head. Reach long arm. Drawing it back and in. Reaching across. And then you can go back to your overhead stretch. Watch out for back bending to get there. And so if you notice your ribs really wanting to push up to the ceiling to reach, stop somewhere sooner. A couple more moments here. Good. If you're in that overhead reach, you can bring it back down. And then you're taking the ball out. And just rest on your back for a moment. Notice if the two sides feel a little bit more even now, the two shoulders. And give yourself a opportunity to process and to notice. Good. One more breath there. Good. And then you can roll to your side. Come on up to sit. And then come to your knees. So this is first option. You can go to your knees, take them wide, touch your big toes together, and then come down to your elbows and your forearms. Right? If the deep bend in your knee doesn't feel possible, comfortable, or necessary, you could also do this lying on your belly in more of a traditional Sphinx feeling. Right? So you can be on your heels or you can be on your belly. Either place, totally fine. Right? And then wherever you've landed, find that neutral place of your head. so that your head isn't dropping or lifting, and allow it just to float where it is. Add some effort into your forearms, right? So it's about 5% of your effort, maybe 8% of your effort, just enough that you feel like you're anchoring the mat, like a gentle paperweight, gentle reminder, don't move. Just enough to turn on the muscle across your upper back. And then once you've found that, let your chin come into your chest, and then tip it the opposite way. So you tip your gaze to see the front edge of your mat, maybe the wall or the screen in front of you, and curl in, nodding your head slowly through this movement, all the while with your eyes open. All the while keeping some effort in your press with your forearms. Not needing to go to the deepest curl in or the biggest open out. Just finding the range of motion. Coordinate with your breath as you like. So for me, it feels very natural to inhale when I gaze forward, and to exhale when I gaze inward. For you, it might be the opposite. A few more times there. And tip your gaze forward one more time. Tip it inward one more time. And then find neutral, and you can narrow your hands and stack them, widen out your elbows, and your head could come down to rest on that. You could also put a block in that space. Just a place where you can let go. So if you're on your belly, that's totally fine to do that there. Good, one more breath. And then you can start to return your arms to that shape. So whether that's on your belly or on your sitting on your heels, you can also modify it so that you're sort of on all fours with your forearms underneath you. Any of those places, belly, heels, or knees, turn onto the pinky edges of your hands so that you've got your palms facing each other. And then lift the edge of your pinky finger off the ground so your wrist is not on the ground, your outer hand is not on the ground, but it's just enough clearance that you're off the floor. Keep that amount of effort that you started with by pressing the ground away, and then open your hands slightly wider than they are, and then close them in, back to that starting place. So they open, your elbows don't change, and you come back in. So open wide-ish, and then close it in. And so you're opening just enough to fire the muscle back on the back side of your shoulder there. So it's a small change. So I go just wider than my shoulders with my forearms and wrists, and then I come back to being parallel. And if you can keep your head in that neutral and be able to see what's out in front of you, whether that's the edge of your mat or the wall out in front, so your eyes track forward. turning on the external rotators around your shoulders. Those are the ones you want to be subtly alive to help with your posture in your upper spine, to help counteract any laptop asana or driving asana or texting asana. A few more times. One more opening. Good. And then you can stack your hands and let your head come down to rest. You might notice the residual warmth, action, active quality across your upper back. Full breath in and out. Good. And then one more time here on your forearms. So whether that's this first position, belly position, or hybrid, keep the effort that you set up, keep your gaze forward. And without getting into any cat and cow kind of ideas, press the ground with your forearms and try to separate your shoulder blades. And then sink in, let gravity sink into you as your shoulder blades narrow. Press the ground away, protracting, narrow in, retracting. So you work against gravity to spread your shoulder blades, and then you narrow your shoulder blades by receiving gravity. And so, that's it, Maddie. And then you press, and you narrow, right? And all the while you want your head to stay in a static, neutral position. So that might be a little more of a gaze down for this one, depending on you and your neck. But working across your scapula, separate, narrow, protract, retract. Feels natural to breathe in through that spacing out of your shoulder blades and to breathe out as they narrow. So changing your concept of where the body opens up in the inhale, perhaps. Breathing in to spread. Receive gravity with the exhale. Breathe in to spread. Exhale in. A few more times. Last couple. Once more. Good. Settle into neutral. Stack your hands. Rest your head. Your head might roll eyebrow to eyebrow across your forehead. And one last breath here. Good. And then come to sit. So that could be sitting on your heels, or it could be sitting on your bum with your legs out long. It doesn't really matter so much how you sit. But then I have a block here. So block between your hands. And when you've got the block between your hands, have your arms outstretched, right? So notice when you outstretch a couple things. If you grip the block immediately, see if you can take some of the grip out. So you just have your palms meeting it. Notice if it feels like your spine is extending or arching or flexing and rounding, right? So find that place where your spine is really natural. Notice any tension around your shoulders. It's kind of amazing sometimes how heavy a little foam block will feel when you hold it out in front of you. So have some sense of ease, some gentleness in your elbow joint, long arms without being locked. And then spread your shoulder blades like you just did a moment ago and let the block go forward. And then let your shoulder blades narrow back in and feel the block come closer. Spread your shoulder blades, the block goes away. Narrow your shoulder blades, the block comes in. And then work the protraction and retraction here, but noticing what wants to change. So when the block goes forward, it's going forward because your shoulder blades are moving, not the opposite, right? So it's not that you push the block forward and then your shoulder blades separate. It's that you separate and it moves the block. And then add to that so that as you spread and it goes forward, let the block then lower an inch or so, separate your shoulder blades, roll your shoulders up, send the block forward, separate your shoulder blades, and then draw it in. So you're drawing this little circle with your shoulder blade movement. So they protract as it comes back, the block goes higher as you separate, like a little water wheel. And then reverse it. So as it's going forward, almost like you're scooping the water, and draw it back. Scoop the water, draw it back. Scoop, spread, draw it back. Scoop. A few more times. Notice if everything else wants to move along with you. So don't let yourself lean forward to do it, right? But stay as still as possible from your hips up to your shoulders. Last two. Once more. Good. And then put the block down. Notice what you notice, right? Kind of a lot of heat around the shoulders, right, Josie, right? So allow yourself just to sit with that and notice, let the weight of gravity drop again into your shoulders. Give yourself a whole breath in and a whole breath out. And then take that onto all fours. And let yourself settle into both palms. And then when you get there, feel sturdy. Yeah? So allow yourself to hug in a little bit at the base of your belly, to feel strong across your upper back. You're not really spreading your shoulder blades. You're not sinking in. You're really in the middle ground there. And then take your right hand, reach past your heart, and kind of stick your right palm into your armpit. So you're really focusing on one side now. Push the ground away so you can feel your shoulder blade move away from your spine, and then sink in. And then push the floor away again and sink in. Add to it if you like. Push the floor away, and then you keep your hand against your armpit as you turn your chest open and look toward the right. And then as you're sinking in, take it the other way. So you roll your gaze over to the left side. Maybe your right hand goes deeper into the armpit, even past it. So as you push the ground away, use your right fingers to tug your left shoulder blade against your body as you rotate. And then take it back under. Maybe your right hand walks a little bit lower and finds some more shoulder blade at a different place. Push the ground away. Rotate open. Keep pinning your shoulder blade with your right fingers. Take it back under. Maybe your hand stays there as you gaze left. And then this last time, curl your right toes under. Start to turn open. Push the right sole into the ground. So you turn all the way open. You're on your left knee. You're on your right sole. You can turn your gaze all the way up to the ceiling. And then right where your right palm is, try to engage the muscle right under your palm. So you feel the left side of your rib cage firing there around the serratus anterior. Good. And then return to all fours. And then you can do that on the other side. So your left palm can reach across and go into your right armpit. And just pause there so you got this sort of tripod quality. And then spread your right shoulder blade off your spine and sink in. Single shoulder blade protraction, press the ground away, and then sink in. Notice if one side feels easier than the other. Good. And then as you're pressing the ground away, start to rotate your chest. So you rotate open. And then you sink in, so your shoulder blade feels like it's moving closer to your spine, and you look over to the right. Move your hand a little bit lower and then press the ground away. Move your right shoulder blade into your ribs. And then you sink in and you gaze over to the right. Maybe your left hand goes a little bit lower, pinning your shoulder blade to your ribs. Press the ground, turn open a little bit more. And keep your hand there, look under. And then you can curl your left toes under, press with your right hand, flare open your left thigh, drop your left sole, and then hug your right shoulder blade up into your body. Breathing in. See if you can fire the muscle right where you're touching. Good. And then come back down to all fours. And then even it out here. So think about what you were doing with the block, and now you're going to do it on all fours. So when you were drawing that sort of water wheel with the block, making those scapular circles, you had the block, which added some weight, and you had the arms in front of you, which added some weight, and now you're going to have gravity working with you. Hopefully not working against you, but working with you. So spread your shoulder blades apart, and then shift your shoulders forward. Narrow your shoulder blades together. Shift your shoulders back in space. Spread your shoulder blades. Move forward. So imagine drawing that water wheel circle here. Back. Spread. Shift. Sink. And back. There's the protraction. Moving forward. And when you move backward, there's the retraction. And all the while, your elbows stay long, right? So not getting into bending your elbows while you're doing it. You don't want to feel locked, but not getting into a push-up. One more time, forward, spreading, sinking, and back. And then right from there, move forward while your shoulder blades are narrow, spread them apart, lift up, and go back. They're narrow, you go forward, spread, and back. They narrow, forward, spread, and back. Stay strong at your lower belly while you do it. So not going so far forward that it feels like you're getting into a big open hip crease. Not going so far back that it feels like you're going to sit down. Last few. Last two circles. Last one. Good. And then swing your feet to one side and lie down on your back. Have both knees bent. You can turn your palms open to the ceiling. Just use this as a place where you can notice, where you can feel. Let the action, the residual sensation of that still be there. So you're not trying to let go of it, you're just paying attention to it. One more breath. Good. Take your right hand, overhead stretch. Stretch your left leg in the opposite direction. And pull that back to your starting place. Left arm long, right leg long. Stretch in opposite directions. Pull it back. Reach with your right arm, stretch with your left leg. Roll a little bit to your left, pick up your head, and look to where you're reaching with your right fingers. And then come back down to your back. Replace everything where it started. Left arm long, right leg long. Little roll to the right. See what you're reaching for. And then come back and go the other way. Right arm, left leg. Reach. You can leave it right there, or you can roll a little bit. See what you're reaching for. Push into your right foot so your hips lift. Bring it down. There's no weight on your head when you do that. Left arm, right leg long. So you can roll to the right, lift your head, see what you're reaching for, then you can push into your left foot to lift your hip and come down. A couple more times. Right arm, left leg, reach. Roll if you like, see what you're reaching for. And back down. Left arm, right leg, reach. Roll to your right. See what you're looking for. You can lift your hip. Last one in each direction. Right arm, left leg. Roll if you like. See. Lift. Last time with your left arm and your right leg. Roll. See. And come back down. Both knees bent. And then you can rock and roll yourself a couple times until you find a seat. You can sit on something for sure. You can cross your legs if that works for you. And then once you've settled into your seat, twist your body to the right. So turning your body, your right fingers behind you. It's like a normal seated twist. And this could be legs long out in front of you for sure. And then once you've found your twist to the right in your body, turn your head the opposite direction. Just far enough that it feels opposite without it being so far that it feels like strain. Once you've got your head over there, you can let your ear drop toward your shoulder a little bit. So left ear toward your left shoulder. And if you drop your gaze down towards your left knee, it adds a little bit of weight toward your head. Start to unravel the twist. Sit to the middle. And then take your your left hand behind your back. So left hand behind your back. So you take your left hand, yep, no, not twisting yet, Maddie. Just your left hand behind your back, like you've got an itch on your spine. Yeah? And then you can use your right elbow close to your ribs, and then see if your left fingers can hold on to your right elbow crease. So left fingers, right elbow crease. And then once you've got hold of your elbow crease, use your left hand to pull your arm down a little bit. So I'm pulling my right arm down in its socket. And your right hand can just be on your thigh or someplace. It's not really important what your right hand is doing, but tug your arm down so that your right shoulder drops down from your ear. Right? That's the shoulder that you want to drop down. So your right shoulder is dropping down, your right shoulder blade is dropping down. And then once you've got that, drop your chin toward your chest. Now move your chin over toward your left collarbone. So it's the same direction that you were turning your head, but because you're tugging that right side down, tugging your right shoulder blade down, now rather than targeting the side of your neck, you're targeting the back side. So from the top of your shoulder blade up to the base of your skull, targeting levator scapula. Good. Soften that. You can change the crossing of your legs if you like. And then you're going to twist to your left. And then once you've twisted your body left, you can turn your head to the right. So getting into the scalenes on the left side of your neck. And then you can add that little drop of your right ear down toward your right shoulder there. Your eyes can see your right knee. Good. Unravel. And take your right hand around behind your back, so the back of your hand against your back there. Then you can reach around and find your elbow crease, so taking hold of your left elbow crease, and then drop down with your left shoulder. So you can use your right hand to tug your left shoulder down. And once the shoulder is down, you can drop your chin toward your chest and then over toward the right collarbone. Still breathing fully. Good. Release, and then make your way down onto your back for a rest. So as you set up for rest, use what you like to use. You can cover yourself if it's cool in your space. You can use this time to sit if you prefer. Let go into stillness. But still with a little bit of awareness of how you breathe, how that translates into your body. Noticing what may have changed or shifted for you. Whether that's in your body or in your mind, in your breath, or in all of those together. Have perhaps a different awareness of your body, of how you relate to it, a heightened sensitivity. Different kind of understanding. See if you can drop in one more layer. And then from that depth, you can start to take your breath deeper again. Become more aware of the space that you're in, temperature on your skin, so that you can begin to wiggle your fingers and bend your knees. Windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Roll to your side or rock yourself up to sit. And then your hands can layer on top of each other at your heart or shape into a prayer. Breathing fully behind your touch. We are one life, we are one light, and we are one love. With gratitude that I bow, honoring the divine in each of you. Peace be with you, blessings upon you. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for being here. Great to see your faces. Hope to see you again soon.